to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. We are, of course, joined this evening following another 3 points, 6 wins in 8 league games for the Wanderers as we progress into the playoff places. Obviously, it's a little bit too early into the season to predict that that's where we'll finish, but progress is progress all the same. We are crawling up the table slowly but surely. Results are coming our way. We may not have turned a corner. Is the real test still to come? You can have your say on this evening's episode. If you are watching along live, it is a pleasure to have you with us. David, a warm welcome to you as a channel member. But Leslie, Ian, it is a pleasure to have you with us as well. And a good evening to everyone watching. If you're watching this back and you want to get involved with the live shows, then if you head over to our socials, which is at the Fanzone Pod or at the Fanzone Podcast, depending on where you are, then you can find out everything you need to know about the lives and where to find us. But joined by both Bens this evening. It's a quiet one. We the last few weeks have been very, very tough for the Fanzone team. Everyone's very busy. For those of you who don't know, Ange is gallivanting around Barbados. So yeah, we're all busy bees. But how are you this evening, Ben?
Yeah, all good. Like I said on Sunday, 3 points makes me happy man on the podcast, and yeah, all good.
Absolutely, that is the spirit, and we hope you're all feeling the same. 3 points. It was an important 3 points, a very, very, very well-earned 3 points. 4-1 the scoreline in the end, in what was quite the polar opposite to Saturday's game, in that Saturday we had lots of chances but couldn't find the back of the net, and then, Tuesday night rolls around and all of a sudden we not really had too many chances, not played our best football, but we were absolutely ruthless in front of goal, and 2 set pieces, 2 goals from open play, and what more can you ask for, eh?
I know, mate. Yeah, it's mad. We said it in the chat, in the group chat last night. Yeah, they took the polar opposite of Saturday, because Saturday was probably our best performance of the season. Tuesday night was probably around mid-table if you rank our performances. But yeah, running away 4-1 winners, you can't really argue with it. As you said, Santos scoring from a set piece, just unbelievable. It's took him. I had a look how many league games he's played for us, and that was his 157th, and obviously he's got 3 goals for us before. One of them came off his bum at Peterborough, and then the second one just landed at him about four yards out away at Peterborough again, and he slammed it top corner. And then his third was MK Dons, 3 days later, that it was kind of a looping ball in, and he kind of just nodded it to the far post. Whereas his fourth league goal for us on last night was just a really good attacking run, powerful header onto the back post, and it's something we've literally never seen from him in 156 games for. So hopefully he's got that confidence to do that now. So yeah, brilliant for Santos, and obviously he's had a difficult time at the start of this season, but he's been fabulous basically since the captaincy got took off him. He's been fantastic, and then obviously straight after that, set piece got headed out straight to McAtee. Whether he meant it or not, it was a nice little finish. Bounced up, looped the keeper, and went to top corner. And then 15 minutes, you're 2-0 up, and it's one of them. If we'd have gone 2-0 up at home to Peterborough, like we maybe should have done after 15 minutes, we probably wouldn't have had as many chances. It's just the way the game goes, isn't it? But they got back into it a little bit, but didn't really have many big chances, I guess. And then we sealed it with 2 goals in the second half, and they got sort of consolation, which made it a bit nervy for about 10 minutes. But apart from that, pretty standard, pretty professional away performance.
Indeed. And on that note, we will waste no more of your time, and we will get stuck into our post-match reactions, brought to you, sponsored by Johnston Tiling. So, as we mentioned, a nice warm welcome to you all this evening. There is plenty of you in the live chat. Jake, it is always a pleasure. We hope you're doing well. Unfortunately, Colin isn't here to talk to you tonight, but I'm sure the first thing he would remind you of is your your away trip to Crawley. It wasn't the best result, but you know, you've not done too bad since then. 2 wins in your last 2. Beating Stockport is no mean feat, and I'm sure we'll find out very, very soon. But post-match then, 4-1 to the Wanderers on an away trip to Stevenage. 2 goals from set pieces, as we mentioned, which seems to be weird because it's like we score from set pieces in flurries. Like we have a spell of looking like we're really, really good from them, and then we are absolutely abysmal in both boxes for a really long period of time. But what was your thoughts on the overall performance? I mean, for me, it was like we were excellent. We were so good in front of goal. Every time we went forward, we looked like creating. The new shape worked really well. The 2 in midfield were fantastic. Again, wing backs were on fire. It all just seemed to click. But for you, I mean, give us a bit of an overview of last night's antics.
Yeah, he seemed to switch up the style a bit when we play away from home, and especially in these Tuesday night away games. I mean, it was a very similar performance to the Northampton game, to be honest. It was a quick start and then kind of finished it off with goals in the second half and a couple of set piece goals as well. As you said, our set pieces are really hard to get a grasp on because for quite a long time under Everett, we've been pretty poor, and we had an amazing run. It was when it was the back end of the first playoff camp, the first time we reached the playoffs. It was that second half of that season. I think we had the best set piece record in the whole league. It was when
it was funny because the players had scored from a set piece. I remember Jack Iredale running off and doing this with his hands to tell everyone.
Yeah. For those you can't remember, it was a bet between the players that every set piece goal they scored, it'd get added to the end of party fund behind the bar. Yeah. So I mean, maybe we need to bring that back. Maybe we don't need to anymore because we're doing quite well. But I saw something before, and it was goals from set pieces in this season, and Lincoln. I'm sure Jake will be buzzing about that. Lincoln are top for this season with 10. And then second, it's us with about 3 other teams with 9, which I don't think many people would expect. But yeah, it has been the defending set pieces has been annoying. But yesterday we did that very well. I mean, Everett said in his post-match that it seemed like we were under a bit of pressure, but most of that pressure was from set pieces. I mean, when you play Stevenage and Carl Piergiani in particular, gets his head on everything. You're going to come under some pressure with set pieces, but I thought Santos was excellent. He won basically everything in the air. Saw another stat that he made 16 clearances last night. That's the most of any player in any league game this season in League One.
He was immense in the air, weren't he?
He was. And yeah, Johnston played well. Thought Forrester was really good when he came on. I mean, he had possibly the worst cameo you could imagine at Birmingham. He came on for 15 minutes and gave away a penalty and put a head over the bar. But yeah, look, I mean, he seems to have got a bit of match fitness back. He looks really good. But yeah, you're right. It was kind of, I mean, I think at the end of it, they had 52% possession, which was a bit similar to the Northampton away game, a bit like the Crawley away game as well. He seemed to have sacrificed particularly the playing out from the back, the riskiness of it, and the what's the word? I mean, maybe stubbornness is the right word. The stubbornness to keep possession as much as we can. I mean, the third goal summed it up perfectly, really. Sheehan won the ball back. Just had a bit of composure, wait for Sheehan to make the run down the left-hand side. One pass and Sheehan's in, one touch, crossed into the box, and RWA was just there to finish. It was 3 touches and it was in the opposition's net. Refreshing to see.
Very, very refreshing. I think Leslie has kind of summed it up. She said, we're playing okay at the moment, but only time will tell when we play a better quality team. Let's not get too cocky. We've not actually played a decent team yet, apart from Birmingham. There is still a long way to go until I think we can officially say we've turned a corner. I don't think that can be argued any which way. But one thing that we could probably all agree on is that things are much better than this point at the start of the season when we were, I mean, to divulge a little bit, for those of you who don't know, we had actually planned to go out as the podcast and go for a meal, and we actually had to cancel this because we thought that there was a genuine chance that Everett would be sacked, and we didn't want to be out and not be able to do a live podcast for you all and a reaction and have people tune in and share their thoughts. So it feels like we're in a very, very different place, which is quite nice. And I think we are still a little bit away from saying we've turned a corner. But you look at our next couple of fixtures, you've got, excluding cup games, Stockport County, Rotherham, Blackpool, Cambridge, which I think we should be winning that. But then Mansfield as well, who've had a really, really good start to the season. And I think the end of that run will really mark and spell out where Wanderers are and give us a clearer idea of how good we actually are. What do you think?
Yeah, totally agree. Look, I mean, after the Huddersfield game, we sat down and looked, and our next 5 fixtures it was Reading at home, Crawley away, Northampton away, Shrewsbury at home, and Burton at home, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And they would look at them and go, look, they're all very winnable. I mean, it's turned out that Reading have actually a pretty decent team. I think they were lower mid-table when we played them. They're now into the top 7, I think, after last night. But yeah, the other 4 were all relegation level teams, and it's kind of, look, we expect to beat them. And then after them, I looked and thought, right, Birmingham away, who we play? Peterborough at home, Stevenage away, and Stockport away. They're 4 games, 1 against the best team in the league, and 3 against teams that will be between mid-table and the top 6. I imagine Peterborough will be further up from where they are now at the end of the season. I imagine Stockport will be in and around the top 6, and Stevenage probably around mid-table. So the fact that obviously we went to Birmingham and lost there, but the fact that we've come away from the next 2 with 6 points and 2 really good performances, it's not like we've scraped wins. I know we scored in the 99th minute against Peterborough, but we thoroughly deserve that. But like the performances we've looked dominant and like clearly the better team. So yeah, if we're going to Stockport away, I think a certain Fanzone podcast member won't like me saying this, but I would take a point there, and 7 points and then 3 would be a pretty good return.
Let's hope he's in the chat,
because I think Stockport are a really good team for the level. But yeah, you're right. It's the six fixtures starting from the Peterborough game are the big ones, where we've, as I said, we've played 5 teams that are going to be between mid-table and near the top of the league. Yeah. Right on cue. Here he is. Give over. Now we've got to be winning every single game at this level, haven't we, Cole?
Yeah. Even Jake agrees. How dare you only take a point? Poor from you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we'll see where we are at the end of that run. And I mean, look, he's turned it around in quotation marks so far. Since the Huddersfield game, no one's picked up more points in the league than us. So yeah, we've just got to carry on it.
We do, absolutely we do. But you can't obviously forget before then one cup game against Walsall and then another shortly after against Fleetwood Town. Not the most exciting cup fixtures that I think we could have hoped for. But there we have it. They're games, they're opportunities for players to get minutes. Perhaps some of the younger lads, Matheson and the likes, to get some minutes in the legs. Perhaps Forrester to gain a little bit of sharpness, a bit of confidence. Now it looks like Toll will be out for a little while. And possibly, to see the returns of some players like Geff. I'm still not sure how far away he is, but Lolos has got off to a really good start since coming back, so it's another opportunity for him. So I think these cup games will prove to be quite beneficial for Wanderers, I hope. And hopefully we don't pick up any more injuries. One can hope. But we'll move on now to your Fanzone Man of the Match segment. And of course, sponsored by the wonderful people over at iHeat. Right, for the second time now, this segment is going to be interesting because there is lots of names that can be thrown about, and that is how we like it. We'll hand over to the chat as well, of course. Get your comments in as we discuss it amongst ourselves. Get your thoughts on and give us an elaboration as well as to why you're choosing your man of the match. Ben, we'll go to you first. Who is your Fanzone man of the match for the game against Stevenage?
Yeah, one where there was quite a few standout performances, as you said. I think Matete was great in midfield again. I think he's starting to make that place his own. I mean, it's looking bleak for George Thomason when he comes back. At this point, it's weird, isn't it? About 2 months ago, you wouldn't imagine a midfield without Thomason in there, but things can quickly change. Thought Sheen was great ball for the corner, obviously, and great composure and a ball for the third goal. I thought McAtee was good finish. He's worked so hard off the ball. He's like a Dion 2.0. About 3 or 4 times they had the ball like with their fullback, and he just went charging over and tackle the ball out of play. And it kind of gets no one on the pitch, but it gets everyone up for it, and it's great. As Jordan says, I think it's good to point out Josh Dacres-Cogg has been good for the last few weeks. Nice ball for the 4th goal, although it's terrible defending. I don't know how. I don't know if you've watched it back, but the centre half basically just stands off Charles for a good 5 or 10 seconds and basically says, just pass it in. He'll score, doesn't matter. But part of my reasoning for giving Matete man of the match on Sunday is because that I think Santos will get many more this season, and didn't expect it to happen on Tuesday, especially with a goal. But yeah, Santos was immense. As I said before, 16 clearances, most by any player in any game this season in League One. He just dealt with everything they got into the box. They're a very good team from set pieces, and they mustered a few half-decent chances from him, and that was about it. And yeah, he was just colossal. As I said, as Leslie says, a shout out to Forrester. Deserves praise for. It's not easy. He said that in his post-match interview as well. It's not easy getting chucked on as a centre half, especially say first half when there's an unexpected injury. Because as an attacker, you can kind of go on and probably not touch the ball for 5 or 10 minutes and kind of feel your way into the game. But as a defender, you can be challenged straight away. And I feel like he dealt with everything really well. He's got a chance now of running to a team if Toll's out for a little while. We're running low on centre halves. So yeah, I hope it goes well for him. But yeah, look, the man of match last night was Ricardo Santos.
Absolutely. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And he also, probably to not many people, surprised gets my man of the match vote. Jake said Paulie O'Connor is clear. I'm hoping he's talking about Forrester and not Santos. Otherwise, someone might need to go and have a word with him. Colin might have to come and have a quiet word in your ear, Jake, because it's a little bit outrageous. But no, Santos, I thought he was fantastic. He's back to his best, and long may it continue. We've seen very, very, very often what he's capable of, and we've seen it in abundance when he's at his best, how he impacts the game, and he just completely nullifies the opposition. You know, you look at some of his best games playing against the likes of Clark Harris. When Peterborough came to our place, he was exceptional then. And he's just capable of completely nullifying. I remember Alfie May when he was at Charlton. We went away and he was exceptional then. And yeah, he makes such an impact on the game. And yeah, he was magnificent last night. So he gets my man of the match vote, followed very, very, very closely by Jay Matete, because I thought he was outstanding again.
He just looks so composed on the ball. He can receive it basically anywhere. And you think any other player, you're thinking, shit, like he might get caught out there, but he quick turn and he's away and he wins a foul or something, and he does really composed. And defensively a lot better than I thought he was. He gets around the pitch very well. I mean, going back to the Peterborough game, the first half, 4 or 5 times he cut out a dangerous counter attack, and where he's playing, it allows Sheen to get further forward and impact the game a little bit more in attacking areas. So, may it continue.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest difficulties we've had is when there is a defensive burden placed on Josh Sheehan, when he feels the need to drop deep and he has to come and pick up the ball deep and not be as progressive, because the team that we're playing against, like a Birmingham, I thought he was relied on a lot for defensive duties, which doesn't give him the scope and the creativity going forward. And I think having Matete in that midfield offers that little bit of more protection for the defence. And his ball winning ability is really good. And to see someone like him complement Josh Sheen in that way, I think is a very, very good sign for Bolton Wanderers.
Yeah. And it's not a coincidence that we've not struggled to play out as much. I know we've not done it as much. We've gone long a little bit more, especially when Adebayo's in the team. Because just having someone else that would pick up the ball in midfield and feel so comfortable, even with a couple of players around him, that he can spin away or, bump a pass off to another centre half. He just looks so more composed. And I mean, you can tell he's got promoted 3 times from League One already. I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of myself because it's been 2 really good games and that's all it has been. But if he carries on, it'll be a hell of a player for us.
Absolutely. So there you have it. Ricardo Santos is your Fanzone man of the match for this week. And we will hand over to your resident Statman for Get Stat On.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Get Stat On with the Statman himself. This is, of course, for the game on Tuesday night against Stevenage after a good win against...
No, it's not. I played the wrong video clip. So apologies to our resident Statman. I've tried opening with the wrong video. And that's not what we do on the Fanzone podcast.
So for once, it's not Cole. For once, it's not Cole with the.
No, yeah, it's usually Cole who gets the buttons wrong. Experiences the technical difficulties, but whilst we wait for the new video to process, because it is doing it, it's just going unbelievably slowly. The next game obviously will be Walsall in the cup, but our Statman's preview will be for the league game against Stockport. What are you expecting from the Stockport game, though, Ben?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Probably one of the most difficult games this season. Stockport have had a really good start. And, you know, I mean, like the stats, their underlying numbers are a lot better than quite a few of the other teams up there. They don't give teams many chances. And they've probably got one of the best attacking players in the league in Louis Barry, who started the season really well. I think he's got 8 goals. I think he might be the outright top scorer at the minute. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to be reminded of the last time we went to Edgeley Park. Actually, not. We played him in the Papa John's last year, didn't we? And beat him 2-0. But the time before that was the FA Cup game. Yeah, that was quite embarrassing. I was there that night.
Wiggly score was an absolute new one.
Yeah, he did. It was such a bizarre game because we went 3-1 up after about 15 minutes, and you're thinking, oh, well, there we go, should be all right. And then for the next 75 minutes, they absolutely battered us. So, yeah, no, we don't want any of that. It'll be a good test for Will Forrester though, coming up against Will Forrester and Josh Dacres-Cogley, I guess, together coming up against Louis Barry. Kyle Wotton up front as well. He's a bit of a target man. You'd think Santos will be able to deal with him. You'd hope so anyway. But yeah, they're just a solid outfit. I think they'll be up there this season. I think I predicted them to finish 7th. I was going to put them in a top 6 at the start of the season, and I didn't, just because I thought there were stronger teams around, but they started better than I thought they had. So it's going to be a tough game.
It is indeed. And for more on our upcoming tough game, here is our resident Statman with the right clip for all of his efforts.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Get Stat On with the Statman. And, of course, this segment is sponsored by Jen Louise Salmon. Thank you very much for that. And, of course, you should know, if you're going to buy a gaff, give her a bell. Remember that. Anyway, this segment, of course, is a preview ahead of the next league game. However, the next league game isn't for a while. Are we still going to do it? Of course we bloody are. So your next league game is on the 9th of November against Stockport. And this should be quite an interesting game because Stockport are quite an interesting team. They have, of course, got Louis Barry up front. And if you don't know him, what the hell rock are you living under? On loan from Villa and, of course, a Barcelona youth product, even though he's English. He's had quite the career and he's only 21. And he scored against Liverpool in lockdown. You know, he's a very well-known bloke and he's had a lot of problems with injuries. But it looks like he's coming back to form, which is, of course, not the best thing for you because he's playing against you. However, the actual Stockport team, they've just beat Reading 4-1. Big win, that, to be fair. But before that, they were without a win in 4. So, you know, bit inconsistent, but as they should be since they got promoted last season. They are 10th with 21 points. And they've drawn 6 games, played 13, and they've drawn half. I mean, that is unreal. This has got, like, 0-0 written all over it, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, we'll move on. Yeah, that won't surprise you. That they have drawn the most in the league. I mean, half of the games already. That's mental. But anyway, they concede about 0.9 goals per game, which is the 5th best in the league. And they score about 1.5, which is the 10th best. So you can see why they draw a lot. They do like to have the ball, and they're actually one position higher than Bolton in their average possession rankings. Yours is 53% on average, and theirs is 53.6. You know, there's not a lot in it, but it'll be interesting to see who has most of the ball, or if it's fairly even. They do, interestingly, have the most XG in the league, but they have not scored the most goals in the league. And they're not overperforming their XG massively. It's about I think they're actually underperforming it by 0.5 or something. And you may go, oh, that's a good sign for us, but well, I don't know if it is, to be honest. Well, it probably is for this game, but it could mean that Stockport are just building a sustainable team, which is what they need to do since they've just been promoted. And it is sort of the theme of Stockport since Challinor took over in 2021, because when he first got the job, he won the National League in the first year, and they won the league, and then they stayed in League Two for 2 years, where they stabilised themselves for 1 year, and then they won the league in 2024. That is this year, but last year, you get what I mean. Last season, this year. So, they are a very sustainable team. That is their thing. So, they might not be unbelievable this season. They might be pretty good next year. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is, for this game and this game only, you should be going into it quite confidently. But I'd be fearful about coming up against Stockport in the future. And we're going to do something a little bit different this time. And this is purely what I've decided. I'm not running by the rest of the team. So hopefully it's all right. Instead of looking forward to Stockport in the screenshots and the tactics board, if you will, we're going to look back at the last game. Because one, it went quite well. And two, you're not even going to remember what I say for next week. I can't remember what I had for tea yesterday. And I'm young, you know what I mean? So, yeah, we're gonna look at last game. So the first goal, I'm not going to screenshot for this because I don't think I need to. It's a good, well-worked set piece. Santos makes a great run to the back post. Everyone blocks off their man, as they should do. And it's a very well-worked set-piece routine that was definitely done on the training ground. And that can be replicated quite easily. Maybe not in the next game because then it becomes a bit predictable, but definitely in the future. Second goal also comes from a set piece, but you have got to say that's just a screamer from McAtee. Screenshot one. I don't know why I'm talking so fast. I'm just in the mood. I'm just enthusiastic. But no, screenshot one on screen now. Great ball from Sheehan first for Sean. And he's in. And you can see Adebayo and Collins in the middle. And you can see, in this screenshot, Vic is having a look at Collins to see where he's running. Because Collins is running across him, which maybe he shouldn't be doing. But it works out quite well. We're going to play it on now. Screenshot two. The defender is completely occupied by Collins now. He's followed him, and Adebayo is making the run to the back post. Defender's not even seen him, and no one has another chance of getting back. So it's a great run. And then screenshot three now is the ball literally just misses Collins and his man, and it lands perfectly. Bloody hell, sorry about that. I've just had a Mackey's, allow it. But yeah, Sean plays a great ball and literally just misses Collins and his marker. And it lands at Adebayo's feet, so he gets a perfect strike. I mean, that is probably as good as a goal as you're going to see in League One, to be quite honest. And it probably goes quite under the radar. But it's all well thought out, because Collins makes the run to draw the defender away, and then Adebayo recognises the space behind him and gets there. And Sean recognises that the defender's probably going to beat Collins to the ball, so he plays it just behind him. It's a beautiful goal, and we need to see more of that on the break, not just passing it about too much and then getting and just building slowly. Sometimes you do just need a play on transition, and for me, that is what I'm trying to say against Stockport. They're gonna like to have the ball, so there is going to be opportunities to hit them on the transition, and you need to. Anyway, I dragged on for quite a bit longer than I normally do, but so enjoy the rest of the podcast, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Just an absolute classic. It's just golden, isn't it? I mean, this is prime Wednesday night entertainment. What more could you ask for? That might be up there that might well be my favourite Statman preview that we've had so far. But there you have it. There is the lowdown on Stockport. And of course, we'll have the preview show on the Thursday before the game. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that.
I was a bit worried when he started saying, I'm doing something different. I've not run it by any of the team. I was dreading what was coming up. But yeah, it was quite good in the end.
Yeah, I must admit, I didn't watch it back before he sent it in. I've got to the point now where I just have that much faith, and I quite enjoy watching it live because I know I'm going to laugh my head off. So yeah,
he's keeping us on our toes, isn't he?
He is. Thanks to our resident Statman, as always. If you want to follow him on Twitter, it's at WanderingRed7. He also writes on the website, so if you fancy having a nosy at some of the blog content on our website, www.thefanzonepod.co.uk, go and check it out. But we will round off this evening's episode with our final segment, which is your Fanzone Fan Focus.
Fanzone Fan Focus, it's back. And as we said the other day, it's always a little bit quieter when we win because there's less disgruntlement and less questions of what's going on, let's fix this, let's do this better. But we still got some good stuff in. The first one is from Leslie. He said, do we think keeping an unchanged side last night helped the team with that win? And apart from any injuries, do we think Everett should stick with the same squad? As the cliche goes, why change an unbeaten side? And I think it's an interesting point because it is very rarely we've done that under Everett, especially a Saturday, Tuesday game, because, typically we've had a decent squad to be able to rotate and kind of not suffer with the quality-wise. I did have a look. The last time we did that was for the Charlton game, start of the season, third game? So after the Wrexham game. So that was a week apart, and we had all summer to get fitness up. So it is quite rare we do that. I'd be interested to see how many times last season we did that. I would guess probably about 3 or 4. But Ben, what do you think? Do you think that's going to be something we see more often, especially when we perform as well as we did on Saturday, or is that kind of a product of us not having another league game for a week and a bit?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, it's interesting because some of the times you look at it and you put it down to shape of the opposition. I know with the 4-back, Everett likes to play the 2 in midfield. He referenced it in his post-match. He said having the 2 in midfield instead of like the 3 and having one a little bit deeper works well against 4-backs because it gives them, I would guess, more options going forward. It leaves the wingers and the wing-backs to really double up on the full-backs. And so, both teams lined up with a 4 in Peterborough and Stevenage. So that might be a reason for it. But I think that throws up the question of midfield. We are very short on bodies at the minute. We haven't got very many players there. And so that's probably why we've seen the unchanged shape and the unchanged team, I don't know because I think we need to trust in whatever team that goes out should be capable of getting the job done. However, saying that, when you look at the way we play requires a very, very good understanding and relationship with the players around you. The outside centre-backs and the wing-backs could not function very well together if they hadn't had that relationship. The 2 in midfield in the new shape are very, very important together and have to understand how each other play, where they're going to be. And the same applies for, the front 3. You have to have that understanding and knowledge between you, like, Collins is going to run there, so I'm going to pull off what Victor did and create chances like that. So it's tough to say, but I think it would be nice to see some more continuity amongst the teams this season. Everett will be the only one that knows the answer to this and how beneficial it really is and whatnot, and whether he plays horses for courses or whether he just sticks with the team because it's played well. Which is a bit of a crap answer because I'm not really giving you a yes or a no, but
it's good points. I mean, as you say, it's as you say, he lines up depending on the opposition team. He made that point in the post match, and he said about playing the kind of box midfielder, with the 2 supporting the striker against back 4s, because he was saying about defenders hate getting pulled out wide, and when we have 3 up top against the back 4, if you can put the wing backs up against their full backs, it leaves the 2 centre halves with 3 up front and 2 players that like to drift wide in Collins and McAtee. And he said the last thing, he said himself, I know because I was a centre back, the last thing you want to do is get dragged out wide and get 1-on-1 with like a number 10 / a winger. So yeah, he does switch it up, and I mean he started the season with that formation kind of no matter what. and for different reasons it didn't work out. I believe that was because the balance up front wasn't right. And there's a bit of discussion on Twitter as well about how Charles hasn't been in the team for the past 2 games. I can't remember the last time Charles was on the bench for 2 games in a row. But again, it was just a product of we were so good on Saturday, creating chances. And I think the balance has to be right up front. And I think with Adebayo being the physical presence, I think he takes the what's the word? He makes defenders focus on right, stop him getting the ball because he's a big lad. If we don't, he can just hold it off. And it leaves space for Collins and McAtee in behind. And it worked well on the break. Whereas the start of the season when we played Charles, Collins and McAtee all together, Charles wants to run in behind as well. So it kind of makes it a bit more predictable.
3 players running away from the midfield with very little support there. Yeah.
A little link up between it. So yeah, it was an interesting one. But I think it's one of them. I think it will be depending on the team we play. And I think on Saturday he'll rotate a lot, and it'll be a lot of the team that might have played. If it was a league game, he might have rotated it to the team. Yes, as in the likes of Lolos. I mean, Forrester, if Toll didn't get injured, and Rondo Williams and Arfield, etc. And as you say, in the 2 midfield, that's probably where you might rotate. But you basically don't have any choice at the minute. There's no depth. Or is out on loan. It's just Arfield. So yeah, it's one of them. So yeah, thanks for that, Leslie. And also, Brandon has wrote in and just says, what has happened to Aaron Collins? He was an absolute baller when we signed him, and he got up and after he got up and running. He's had 1 summer away and he's come back and he's literally done absolutely nothing, which I think is a bit harsh. How does he fit into this team best? And I think it's an interesting one because he signed last season when we basically had no fit strikers. Quite a lot of the goal scoring burden was put on him, and he took a few games to get used to the team. And then after that, he was firing. I think he got 10 goals towards the end of the season. And was like our main goal scorer, and everything ran through him. And we kind of went into this season. I remember we did our preseason predictions. I think 3 of us put him as our going to be player of the season, and he's not had the best start of the season. But it's one of them now. I was looking before, and we've had 12 different goal scorers this season after Santos notched last night. So. And it's the same with Dejan Charles being out of the team as well at the minute. We don't rely on that one goal scorer anymore. We've gone past the days of when sort of our second League One season, we had a really solid defensive team, and it was basically give it to Charles up front and he'll score you a goal. Now we have goals all around the team, goals in midfield. We even get goals from set pieces from our centre halves. Our wing backs have chipped in with goals. And as you say, we've got a front 3 that have all chipped in with goals. McAtee got one last night. Adebayo and Charles both scored. It's and I also think with Lolos being back fit, that competition is only going to help him because he came on, scored a last minute winner in his first home game, and then last night came on some good feet for the 4th goal, good composure down the right side for Dacres Cogley, and I don't think it'll be long till Lolos gets his chance to start because, as you say, Collins hasn't been as impressive as he was towards the end of last season. Have you got any extra thoughts on that, Ben?
No, I think you're right. I think one thing to bear in mind that I think is important is that he's now being asked to play in a different position. He was up front with Charles on his own in a different system, and now the system's changed and he's playing off the left, which is I'm under the impression he's more comfortable with. That's how he played at Bristol.
He played a bit of both at Bristol Rovers, up front and off the left,
Yeah, so I think I'm under the impression that he's more comfortable off the left than he is just up front. So the system's changed, players have changed, personnel has changed, and I think we've just got to give him a bit of time. I don't think we've got anything to worry about. You can see his talent, you can see his ability. I was really impressed against Peterborough with his just picking up the ball and running with it. His ball carrying was really, really good, and it created a lot of chances. And although he might not have been directly on the end of it either to create the assist or put the ball in the back of the net, he moved us up the pitch really well, and he drifted inside and created space outside for Dacres Cogley, which coincidentally or not was his best game in a Wanderers shirt. And so, I think we've just got to be a little bit patient with him, give him a little bit of time, and not forget that there is a player in there. And just bear in mind that we've changed shape, things have changed, and he's being asked to do different things. But we all know what he's capable of.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's not as if the attack's the problem at the minute. We've been one of the best attacking teams since the Huddersfield game, since we went, 4 games without a goal, which that was the big question on everyone's lips. The defence wasn't great, but the attack was even worse. But we've got miles better since then. We've scored 4 twice. We scored 5 against Reading. We scored 2 a couple of times as well. Well, I think while the attack's going well, and while he's necessarily not directly having goals, it's linked like the balance between the front three as well. And look, we've got options up front. If he's not having a good game, Laws can come on, Charles can come on. Mendes Gomez is back in a few weeks. We've got enough depth up front for Collins to kind of live with Collins being off it and still being good enough to win games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have no doubts that Everett will want him to improve his output. But at the end of the day, that's what his wages are paid for. But yeah, I think we're seeing enough from him off the ball and enough work, not necessarily directly contributing to goals to still, have faith in his ability.
Yeah, and just to round off tonight, it's one of being a bit cheeky. He didn't get sent to the tweet, but I just saw it on Twitter before and thought it was just an interesting conversation to be had at the minute, because I think over the past few seasons the answer to this would have been quite obvious, but I think now with the squad being a bit more balanced, it's Will Jones on Twitter. He just simply put who is the current best player at the club. And I looked at the replies when it was tweeted, I think about half an hour afterwards, and I think the first 4 replies were all different players, and that kind of shows that it's a good question to throw up. So if you want to get your answers in the chat, I think there's quite a few candidates. Obviously, Sheehan was our player of the year last year. Started the season off a bit slowly, but has been back to his best recently. Obviously, Santos has been a rock for a few years now, but has had his form troubles in the start of this year. Dion Charles has been our main goal scorer over the last few years, but obviously he's not been in the team for the past couple of games. Aaron Collins, as we said, carried us over the past few months of last season, but has not hit the heights at the start of this season. I think there's a lot of candidates. Obviously, George Johnston was great before he got injured, was out all last season, and now he's been, Everett said last night, he's come back and looks even better, which you can't really argue with. So yeah, and obviously Sabi Shern, international, has slotted in really well after the first 4 or 5 games where he was a bit shaky. He's been really good ever since. It's a tough question to answer nowadays. I think the answer would have been quite simple a few years ago. But yeah, Ben, it's a tough one. What would you say right now?
It is. It's really, really hard.
And I've not even mentioned Kyle Dempsey, who before his injury, everyone would have said has been our best player this season. So
yeah, he has. I think for me, what I'm basing this off is consistency, and for that reason, I have to say Josh Sheehan.
Yeah,
I don't think there's been many weeks where we've said, "Oh, Josh Sheehan's had a stink," or "Oh, Josh Sheehan's done this," or. I feel really bad because my second option would be Santos, just because he's been here since the start and he has been immense, and his progression arc and his development has been phenomenal under Ian Everett. But in terms of consistency and importance to the team, I think in terms of before Matete being the only one who can really play that role, I'm gonna go with Josh Sheehan, and I love watching him. Honestly, watching him kick that ball around, it just makes it look so easy.
He looks like he's got an extra 2 seconds than everyone else, doesn't he? Like, as I say,
it's like he has the game in slow motion. He's unbelievable.
And
because he can do that so consistently, I'm gonna go for Josh Sheehan.
Yeah, I mean that sums it up. We've had
and I want him on the podcast.
Asked a question. Yes, it's going to happen. Since that's that question, we've had 7 comments and 4 different answers. So it's, as I say, a few years ago, it would have been, easily Santos or easily Conor Bradley or easily James Trafford or whatever. But yeah, it's brilliant. Got more balance to the team. Yeah, that rounds off tonight's Fanzone Focus. Thanks for everyone for getting involved.
Indeed, thank you all very, very much for tuning in. For those of you who are watching live and had your comments in, thank you. Your engagement is much appreciated. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like the video, tell your friends about it. Tell them who we are and tell them to come and have a natter. And subscribe so you never miss another episode. It's completely free and it just helps us out. So what's not to love? But thank you very much for joining us. It is always appreciated. Until the next time, though, you've been watching the Fanzone podcast. Take care, and we will see you all in the next one.